Hey, ChurchCom fam, this is Kenny Jahng. Welcome to our live stream here. We are actually very fortunate. I've been able to twist the arms of a new friend that I made this month. If you've been following in the group at all, there's been a new introduction to, a technology and offering a service. You're going to want to know, Chad, by the end of this live session. What they have built as a team is extraordinary for most churches. What we do here is, as you know, our mission is try to matchmake, right? You guys are the church practitioners in the trenches, and we're trying to find the providers that are out there that are building the solutions to help make your job easier, make your workflows easier, make your volunteer teams more efficient so that you guys can become better communicators. And so today I want to introduce my friend Chad. Chad, welcome to the show today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's great to see you again.
So let's go straight up. Let's just start old school basics. Why don't you share with us what company you're with and what role you're playing and what is the actual service that we are talking about here today?
Yeah, sure. So the company is called Focus Ministry. So I'm the CEO/CTO. So I handle, the technical side and then some of the business side as well. And our job here is just to hopefully help, like as you said, to help churches, minimize some administration so they can maximize their ministry efforts. And that's, I think, is what we're going to be talking about today.
How old is your team, and how long have you been doing this for?
Yeah, so we started at the beginning of 2014. It was funny, I was working for a company called Fellowship Technologies and did that for about 10 years. And then at the end of 2013, my wife was pregnant. We just bought a new house. And God said, hey, you need to move on and start this new company. So that was a fun conversation to have with my wife. That was going to leave a cush job, but did that. Started with like a team of 3 with our heart, just trying to help the church in many ways as possible. And so over the past 5 years, we've grown to about 13 employees now.
Nice. And where are you guys located?
We're actually purely remote. We don't really have a brick and mortar. The company is technically in Austin, Texas, but we have people in Oregon, North Carolina, etc.
Nice. Okay, so the topic of the day is something that's near and dear to me because when I'm consulting with, I'm actually working with 2 specific churches in their whole workflows, right? So everyone wants to put out a good first impression. They want to bring new visitors in the door. This is something that, you need to get down with systems and processes to do it right and enable for you to scale and grow your ministry, your footprint, etc. And one of the things that I think is common across almost all churches or most churches is figuring out how to capture that information from the visitor, right? And so we call that, most churches called a connection card or visitor card or something like that. And that's the realm that I wanted to talk to you and invite you on here today, because one of the things that I think you guys have been doing is you've been working with, how many churches have you worked with in this space so far? Let's just give them the context of the exposure that you have.
Sure. Yeah, we've been blessed to work with about 400 different churches on this.
And so looking at the connection card, one of the things that I've always said is that many churches, you get people to walk in the door, you might have shaken hands in the parking lot or with an usher, sit down, and then they get to the visitor card, and then that's where you scare them away, right? Like, because you're just asking for weird information or too much information, or I didn't bring my resume with me today. Why do you need to know all that? We just met. And so sometimes, that connection card can be that weird facto in the relationship of a visitor to a church. So let's just start there. In terms of a connection card, and we're talking usually paper, now it's sometimes digital, but mostly paper. What would you say are the most critical elements of that? And what's the priority? Why don't we just start there?
Sure. Yeah, so, the interesting thing, and I went through this because when we moved to Austin about 2 years ago, we visited like 7 churches in a row. And so, what's interesting about the connection card sometimes is that, they have this area of like, I'm a first time guest, et cetera. Here's some information. What that's really saying is that this is the first time I feel comfortable giving you information. If you have kids, you've probably already given them information and checked them into something. They have information on you, but now I'm comfortable doing it. So, in our experience, what we've seen is like, yes, you want to capture information that's relevant and you don't want to scare them away. So, you kind of want to minimize it to a very small thing that you can fit in one hand that you don't have to, unfold 3 times. Ask, I think interest is a very big thing to ask for. What are you interested in? Interested in baptism? First time guest, we all have those check boxes interested in.
Yeah. So even there, do you have a sense of, I've been to one and I counted, there were 42 items that I could check off. Is 42 okay? In your opinion?
I think, the challenge is that I think the One Connection card's trying to be everything to everybody. So you have your seasoned attender who knows about all these things, and now I'm interested in this small group, versus the first-time guest that doesn't know anything about the church. I particularly think it would be a good idea to just say you're interested in small groups or you're interested in serving, and then have your follow-up or assimilation process take care of the rest. Because that's where the relationship goes. The connection card is just a foot in, like you said, and then it's a foot into a conversation. And if you've said I'm interested in something, then have somebody else say, hey, well, here's what we have available.
So then, as the communicator, we've got a lot of constituents behind me in every ministry front, every ministry department. How do I choose to triage what actually, right? This is a very practical question. Everyone wants to be on stage with announcements. Everyone wants to be on that connection card for visibility, for engagement, et cetera. Do you have any general rules of either what are the core categories, or at what level, or how many how do you make that decision? How do you appease everyone and not be the enemy of the state?
Yeah, it's I don't know if there is a one shoe fits all kind of situation. We all have different different levels of church as well. We have the plant church, we have the small to medium sized church. So your ministries are going to grow as your church grows. So I think it kind of depends on that as well. But I think maybe. I don't know. That's a great question. I think it's more around like, well, what are you needing at the time? Like you go through seasons of church of like, okay, now we really need to impact our kids ministry from a volunteer perspective. So let's put some emphasis on that. You can always like create new cards or.
So that's a great question. I actually had a church that I was working with. They've used the same card for over 10 years. And I suggested making some changes we just came out of Christmas season. And I said, your visitors during Christmas are very different than potentially the rest of the year. And they said, why would we make a change? And they were thinking it's going to be permanent. Are you seeing churches that use more than one, or that it is? I guess I'm asking for permission. Do you have any data that says there are churches that do change seasonally or regularly or once in a while? Or do they need to stick to one? It's like the Bible, right? Like once it's printed, that's it.
I think, honestly, we have some churches that change every week.
Really?
They change their connection card every week. And, I know there's a cost to it. There's a cost to print. So you do want to be very diligent about how many you're printing and kind of have an expectation of how many people are
What would they change on a weekly basis?
Sometimes the pastor, the way that the sermon is written, they'll have very specific wording about the prayer requests or the comments that you want them to leave on the card, for example. Or like I just said, we're going through, we're interested in growing this volunteer ministry this week, and next week we're interested in kids ministry or something. So, yeah, I would say I 100% agree with you, because you, again, talk to different people throughout the year, and you kind of get a sense of where you are in that time of year on the people that you're communicating with. So I would say at very least, there's ways to keep metrics on how effective those communication cards are being. And I think you evolve, you change, and you see like, okay, no one's checking this box, or no one's interested in the way that we have this worded. Let's reword this and see if we can get better traction.
That's right. Okay, let's shift gears. Instead of focusing on what we're trying to capture, you must see hundreds, if not thousands, of different variations of cards over the years. What are some of the things that shouldn't be on the cards? Or categories of data you shouldn't be, collecting? Again, I always say that most churches go overboard, and they are asking way too many things than they should. What's your opinion on that, and can you give us some guidance on that?
Sure. So, we have kind of a philosophy in a lot of things we do here, and it's called the 80-20 rule, which means if it works for 80% of the time, let's do it. There's always outliers. I've seen cards, like you said, we have 45 different checkboxes. Why? Because we have 45 different ministries. Okay, but 80% of the time, most of the people are going to be interested in these 5, right? Or I've seen some connection cards that have places for 6 kids. Yes, I have 4. I have 4 little ones. So yes, it's possible for me to fill that out. But, when you're starting to get to know somebody, you probably don't need every one of the kids' names and phone numbers right now. So I think that it really comes down to just cleaning up the connection card, making it very simple, very understanding of what information you're asking of me. One thing I've seen is we'll see a connection card is it has this beautiful header and then some fields and then 5 bullet points that has nothing to do with filling out information and then more stuff. Breaking it out like that confuses people.
Yes.
It makes them kind of man, I'm not interested. We see people put it back down or not, So I think it's more of don't, like you said, don't scare them away. Make it very simple. Majority of the time, now this is a heart thing for me. Majority of the time when people are reaching out, there's a reason. And so you don't want to scare them away. Either they're thinking about doing something they shouldn't be doing, or they're really interested in community. They need something, they need a place to go. So I want to phrase it as make a portion for a conversation and then reach out to them because they're looking for that. They're looking for that closeness. They're looking for that hope of God. We'll probably get to this, but the other challenge is that people have a stack of connection cards and they're not doing anything with them. It's Thursday or Friday before they get to them, which is way too late. You need to reach out to them within 24 hours.
Oh, really? So you're talking immediate.
Yeah. I think that, there has been some statistics that say that if you reach out to one person that fills out a first-time guest card, they're 94% more likely to join your church.
Wow.
Just by reaching out to them, showing them you care.
So that gets to, and this is why I brought you on, because I think this is the part where it gets really meaty and juicy. So what are we supposed to do with the connection card, right? So you got the information. Somehow you convince them to be vulnerable and share some more personal information. There are specific, I don't know what you call them, processes or workflows or actions that churches should be doing with every connection card, right? They get it into the system and something's supposed to happen with them. Can you speak to that? What are some of the best practices that you're seeing?
Sure. So, yeah. And again, obviously, there's all kinds of amazing churches out there. We've seen some connection cards just be a tally for attendance. It's some people just fill it out every week. It's okay, I'm here and I'm filling it out, and they don't put a lot of information. But so what kind of things, in my opinion, I think that, and what we've been seeing is that, again, it's the communication, reach out to them. And so whether it be with a text message or an email, maybe even a call, whatever your process is that you want, but they're filling out that information because they're looking for community, because they're looking to get involved in some way. Or
I wish we had some live polling, because I would guess that literally majority, if not 80, 90% plus of churches are not calling, texting, or reaching out in the first 24 hours after Sunday.
Yeah. And again, we talk to churches all the time, and this no bad will. We'll talk to them on Wednesday or Thursday and yeah, I still got a stack of these. They'll bring them up in the Zoom and yeah, I got a stack of these I still need to go through.
And you're what?
But we get it. It's a very manual process to get all of that information into a way that you can actually act on it and then do something with it. But, the other thing is that people are filling that out just to see, is there anything for me at this church?
Right.
Because people don't know. And so as church leaders or stewards of people, we should be able to hand them or guide them and say, man, your stage of life, this is what we got going on. This is what you can get involved in, and let them make the decision.
So this is when I first met you guys, it was actually at a conference and you were at a booth and you guys were at a booth and we were discussing. I couldn't believe it because most of the times staff, and the reason why it doesn't get into Wednesday or Thursdays because staff members are assigned and they've got other things to do. It's not like ministry staff are going out to golf every day, taking 3-hour lunches, afternoon naps, siesta. They've got stuff to do, right? And so that data entry is a very significant task. And we are in the business, right? Our industry is in the business of a 7-day production cycle, one after another. It just keeps on coming. And so data entry is something that almost every church is dealing with. Why don't you share with us your offering? Because I think it's very exciting what it does. And I almost feel like you need to slow down because people don't believe it when I first tell them what you guys do. It's like, chick, chick, chick. They're like, what did you just say? So tell us what you guys offer with Next Steps.
Yeah, sure. So, we do see a couple different personas from church to church. You do have that pastor that does everything, like including looking at the connection cards, praying them over, and then reaching out to people. You have, some organizations that they voluntarily put that information into their CHMS. When you get more people involved, sometimes it tends to get okay, well, what do you do in this scenario? And you talk to 3 different people and they'll do 3 different things. So Focus Next Steps is really all about getting that information from the connection card. So we're able to read the information that's on the connection card, all that handwriting, some bad, some good. And we're able to move that information into your CHMS and then also help you with the automatic follow-up through emails and texts and then get them into tracks, meaning you have these workflows, as you said, of saying, all right, okay, a first-time guest is going to get this communication and then they're going to attend this class and then they're going to do X, Y, and Z. What we've been seeing is that, a lot of churches, they not only don't know who's coming through the doors and who they're communicating with, but it's more about the response of the response. Meaning, if I send a communication to a first-time guest and they respond to me, the church needs to know about that and respond to that. And that's what's getting missed a lot of the times as well. So we're able to help kind of facilitate it all in one place to see all that information.
So I love that. So all that process and follow-up, et cetera. But I don't want to miss also that first piece. So you said you help get the connection cards into the CHMS, right? So there are platforms out there. Some of the behemoth ones are CCB, right? Church Community Builder is a very common one. I think you guys work with CCB, right? So share with us literally on a Sunday, I'm the usher. I collect my stack of connection cards. I bring it back to the office. What literally happens?
Sure. So you'll set up what we'll call a template of hey, here's a card and here's where the first name is, here's where the address is, etc. And then on Sunday, when you get all of those cards, you just take them into one of your all-in-one scanners. You scan all of those cards and you just upload them into our system, and then we'll take care of the rest for you from a data entry perspective.
So this is why I need this learn. You basically put the stack of cards into a scanner. It's not necessarily a proprietary one. Many offices might have a scanner already, so it's not like they have to invest in a new piece of equipment. But what do you mean? It basically scans it like a PDF, and how does it get into the in CCB? I need a people record, right? That's why we have all these data entry people, and people are not typing in the pews, right? They're using pens and pencils. What is the technology? What's going on?
So when you scan your cards, there's a couple different ways that it comes to be. You either have one PDF file with 50 cards in it, or you have 50 separate PDF files. You can take either one of those and upload them into our system. And what we'll do is we'll take the template that you uploaded that says this is where name is and address is, and then we'll take every one of your cards and first we'll align it because sometimes things shift during a printer. But what we'll do is we'll send those off. We have a technology and algorithm through what they call OCRs, this optical character recognition, to where we're able to recognize all these characters that people filled in on a card. And then even so, if it's not great handwriting, we have some algorithms to say like, yeah, there's no way that's a V, that's a U. So we kind of make some smart choices there. And at the end, what you're left with is what they wrote on the card is what we have available to us. And then we make some decisions in your CHMS. Did this person already exist in your CHMS? If not, we can add that person. We can update information. Some churches at the end of the year for the end of year tax receipts or contribution statements in the beginning of the year, they'll say, hey, congregation, can you fill out a card and update your address for me? And so the whole congregation will, you got like 10,000 cards or something like that. And so, that's really good. Those people all exist in the CHMS. We can verify all that information for you without you having
to just update any changes.
Right.
Yeah. So this is handwriting. You were talking about handwriting. Yeah. We're not like, and it's not even intentional like grammar school block print letters or all caps, etc. You're telling me your technology reads my handwriting that I wrote in a pew, and then turns it into text, and then does the data entry for me and triggers some reminders, notifications, workflows, etc. But the handwriting, what's your match rate? What's the success rate of you guys reading handwriting accurately?
Yeah, so we are in the range of between 90 and 95% accurate in our handwriting. If there's there's some doctors out there that just write the way they write. So there's some things that we can't do, but we let you know. There's a way for us to tell you like, hey, this was impossible. We need your help. We can't read this. That happens about 5% of the time. Sometimes, we have pretty good success with it. There's a church in Alabama, Birmingham, called Church of the Highlands, and through our system, last Easter would be a great example. They had 40,000 cards go through their system on a Sunday. And they told me, historically it took them about 3 to 4 weeks to get all of that information into their CHMS, and they had to hire some part-time people to do that. But with our system, they were able to do it in 2 to 3 days without any extra help. So we're able to cut down, the time and effort that it takes. And our philosophy is time is not money, time is ministry. And so we want to get through this so we can go and minister.
Time is not money, time is ministry. That, and coupled with, I've got this picture in my mind of just like people doing data entry in windowless offices in a closet for 3 weeks. You're not allowed out until you finish all those cards. So that must have been a transformation for their team after they understood what you guys can do for them, right? That must have changed things for them.
It did. And what we're realizing is that, when they see some of the benefits of doing this, then they kind of start to think about other ways that we could capture data in an uninvasive way, because I'm not the one that's responsible for making sure that it gets into my system manually. So I think that some of the hesitation sometimes is like, man, if you print out another card, that's another set of things that we got to do manually, and we're already behind in what we're doing. So being able to wipe that clean so you can get better metrics, better conversions and effectiveness, and you don't have to do anything but the actual ministry. We'll take care of the data side.
So it's not just for connection cards. Like, can you use it for registration for events or something like that, with a form or something like that people are filling out?
Yeah. So, any type of form that you have, we're able to not only read, but we have, these follow-ups or these tracks that we can put you in that says like, oh, this is a registration form. So put an assignment or attendance record on this person once they fill out this form, and we have it. Oh, so wow. We're able to do any type of, handwritten recognition that you want to track within your CHMS. And I think it's important because that's your plan of record, and your duty is to understand the engagement of your congregation. So getting all of that data over there is very important.
That's amazing. I think that anybody who is let me back up. Tell me about then the integration. How hard is it to integrate? How hard is it to implement? Is this something that takes weeks, that we have to tweak the system and all that kind of stuff? If I'm a church and I sign up today, how many weeks or months does it take before that first Sunday we can start using this system?
Gotcha. So, while you can use our system to just read data and export it, we do have a way to do like CSV. Our heart is really in that integration. So we do integrate with a lot of the top CHMSs out there. And, to get started, we help you through this process because, it's complex, right? You're taking a manual process and you're automating the entire thing. So we're not going to make you do that alone. We're going to help you. We're going to set up your cards with you and walk you through how this happens. We've had people sign up on Friday and be able to run everything on Sunday. Like
Wow.
it's really like how complex are your what we'll call conditions of like, it's not as easy as like I check this box, so go ahead and add this item. Sometimes it's like, well, you're under 13, and if you check first time guests, you actually want to route that to a different pastor than if you're an adult. So you're actually able to set up those conditions through our software as well, and we'll route them the right place.
Well, like my creative mind then is starting to flow because there's a lot of things that you can start to do with this. This is amazing. Well, thank you for stopping by and really sharing. I think this is an invaluable tool that every church should be looking at and seeing how they can bring it into their workflow. If someone wanted to learn more about it, what's your website address, or is there a demo, or is there something that you guys have what's the next step? If someone wants to learn more, what's the next step for them about your Focus Next Steps product?
Sure. Yeah. So we do have a website, focusministry.com. Anybody can go there. Down at the bottom, there's a contact us, and you can learn more about that product and others that we have to offer.
Okay, awesome. Chad Meyer, thank you so much for visiting with us. I really hope that you can maybe come back again, and maybe we bring in a church that has gone through the transformation or something like that. I think I would love to even talk about the workflows that it triggers, because I think in my mind, and maybe I'm wrong, it allows you now to start to think of new things that you've never thought of with the connection. You've never associated ministry type of activities with the connection card before, and it probably opens the door for a lot of new possibilities, right? So if you can be willing, maybe come back another time in the future and maybe share with us some of those things that you're seeing that are working in the hundreds of churches that you guys are touching.
Yeah, for sure. And those workflows, we actually allow you to see the effectiveness of certain things that you've done. If you send this text message and then you look at the effectiveness and then you tweak it a little bit, we can show you the difference, because we're trying to help you communicate to the people that you want to communicate to. So yeah, man, I'm all about it. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Everybody, why don't you do me a favor in the comments below. If you're interested in learning more also and want someone to reach out, just type in Focus Next Steps as in one of the comments, and I think one of the team members is going to try to follow up with you directly as well. Focus Next Steps, put in the comments. I invite you to do it because these guys are onto something. It's going to change the way you look at that initial intake of the visitor at your church. Chad, thanks for visiting with us. Everybody, till next time, remember, Church Communications, we're here to help you to be a better communicator, the best that you can be. Remember, be social, stay social.
Thanks, man.